Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Welcome to Returning Home. I'm your host, Natalie Sapinski. It has been a rough week. As many of you probably know, there was a disaster on Lag BaOmer night in Meron, where people make a pilgrimage every year in memory of the big Rav, Shimon Bar Yochai. And it was overcrowded, and people were collapsing on each other, and it ended, about 44 or 45 people died in what people describe as a stampede. Some people don't like that term, but, you know, it was a lot of people in one place falling on each other. Just a horrible, horrible disaster. And I was at the fires at the time, and I had spoken to you earlier that day, talking about the excitement of that day, the excitement building up to that night. And there is a lot of excitement. And when I was at the fires, you know, around 12:31 in the morning, one of the mothers said to me, "Did you hear what happened in Meron?" And she used the word ason, and ason, aleph, samech, vav, nun. I don't know this word, okay? I figured it was something to do with fire, an explosion. You know, on Lag BaOmer, there are a lot of disasters from fires. Fires get out of control. The wind blows them out of control. It gets too hot. You know, people don't surround the fires with rocks. Maybe there's not water. All kinds of things happen. So I figured it was something fire-related. I was really, really surprised, though. Really surprised to find out what happened. And it's very, very sad. It's very heavy on all of us. And this just feeling of despondency, it's very hard to shake. And someone wrote yesterday something very beautiful, describing heaven and describing the rabbis dancing around on Lag BaOmer. And whoosh, in comes a 9-year-old boy, and whoosh, in comes a rabbi from this place, and describing all the people that died and how they find themselves among all these great rabbis and join in the dancing, and they look below and they see all the people down there, the crowd, and they are pained and they're stumbling over each other and upsetting to them. And the rabbis say to them, "Don't worry, they're confused, but you're with us now."
Israel is located in one of the most volatile areas in the world. Israel is an island of stability in a sea of war and unrest. In the midst of this turmoil, Israel stands out as a beacon of order and human progress. Each week we update you on what's happening in this, the Jewish state, a true light unto the nations. This is Jay Shapiro. Join me every Thursday on Israel News Talk Radio.
Baba Yellow.
Welcome to Returning Home. I'm Natalie Sapinski, and it appears that our first guest, is, we're having a little trouble reaching her, so I'm just going to talk to you about, I hate to go on about sadness, okay? I hate it, and we're not like a bunch of victims here. That is not what Israel's about, and is not going to, you know, help inspire and encourage aliyah for sure. Someone told me a very interesting idea about this show today, that we should not, you know, skip over what happened and not just do a regular show and talk about the strength of the Israelis, the strength of the communities here when things happen that are bad, when there's terror attacks and when there's death and mourning. And it is this is the place to be when bad things happen. Let me put it that way. People do come together and unify and help one another. It is pretty remarkable. I think our guest is here. Yes, it sounds like she's here. Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to welcome you, Nechama Greenfield from Teaneck, New Jersey. If I'm not mistaken, right?
That is correct.
Oh, good. You're with us. So it is 9 a.m. there. Let me just give a few introductory details. Nechama is making aliyah in a few weeks. I think she has a date. I have here the date June 9th. That's not long. That's not long to go. You've been a physical therapist for 38 years. You are coming with your husband, retired, in your early 60s. And you already have 2 boys here who served in the IDF. Is that right?
That is correct. They're even listening.
Oh, that's so nice. And you're coming with your dog. I have here, 14-year-old dog.
I'm coming with my ancient little dog.
Okay, so this is great. This is great. You have a very nice story for us. You've wanted to come for a long time, you told me, yes?
For a very long time. The very first time I went to Israel, I was 28 years old. I got off the plane. I landed. We walked down on the tarmac, and I started to cry. I knew I was home. And it's taken me quite a bit of time. Now I'm 61 years old. I met my husband 1 week before my 30th birthday, and he is Israeli. Well, kind of. He made aliyah when he was 15. So he's a Toshav Chaser. And throughout our marriage, we've gone back and forth. Are we going to make aliyah? When are we going to make aliyah? And the real reason we didn't in the very beginning is because my Hebrew skills are non-existent. And I, at that time, would be required to take my licensing exam in Hebrew. And we knew we'd never be able to do that. So we waited. And we had lots of fantastic opportunities to do great chesed and not only here in America, but also take care of my mother-in-law, who was a Sabra. She got ill. She stayed with us for the last 8 years of her life. And I have no regrets because this is the right time for my husband and I. I'm beyond excited. I can't even tell you. And I'm especially excited that we're moving to Ashkelon. I can't believe I'm going.
All right. So let's talk about that a little bit, because that is unusual for Americans to go to Ashkelon. There are hot spots where there are Anglos gathered, Ra'anana, Beit Shemesh, Gush Etzion, Yerushalayim, but Ashkelon is not one of them. Tell us how you chose Ashkelon and why.
Well, it was always on my radar, but I took it away off the radar because I was always afraid of the rockets. And for 2 reasons. I mean, at this point, I'm not afraid. I just don't care anymore. I think the corona put this all in perspective. Secondly, a friend of mine was just putting out on Facebook, where are good places for senior citizens to go to retire? And this amazing man and his wife set up this program of Ashkelon 123. And his name is Stephen Epstein. His wife is Allison. And they are incredible. They're like these marketing managers. And they wrote down all these things about Ashkelon. And it was like, click, 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 everything for me. It was cha-ching. I feel like I'm going to go home to a community that's exactly how I grew up. Because I grew up in Los Angeles at the beach and with the marina. And I feel like, oh my, this is exactly how I grew up.
Yeah,
so
that is great.
I guess for my senior years, whatever they are, I don't consider myself a senior really, but for the next until 120 years, God willing, I'm going to be in a beautiful neighborhood. And I'm totally excited. I love the idea of the beach and the ocean. And, again, it's what I grew up with. So I'm so incredibly excited. And I just think it'll be a great opportunity. I can always get on a bus and go to Yerushalayim.
Okay, good. Now that's what I was going to ask you. Well, let me ask you, where are your 2 boys?
So right now, my boys are both learning in school. They're both at Bar Ilan. So they live in Givat Shmuel. So they can come and visit whenever they want. But, we want them to have their privacy also. We're used to them not living with us. It's been quite a long time.
Okay.
And,
I want to make some things clear here for our listeners. The distance between where you're going to be, Ashkelon, and Givat Shmuel is not that severe. What is it, an hour?
No, it's like an hour bus ride.
Okay. So all of you listening in Israel abroad, I want to just make this clear, Nechama. When people come here, one big advantage is you're never too far away. Everything is, you can reach everything by car. There's no worry about a flight or anything. There's nothing. The biggest distance here is 6 hours, the biggest. And that's from the very, very top to the very, very bottom.
6.
And
I'm not even now. It's not even for our mishpacha, which is all the way from Nahariya down to Ofakim and everywhere in between. We can get there.
Yeah.
And we can get there in a normal time frame. Right. And so for me, this is incredibly exciting. And to have an apartment on the beach where all my nieces can come and we can go to the beach together. I'm just so incredibly excited. And I can't wait to go to every bris and every wedding. I've missed so many. And I want to go to everything now.
You can, and you will, and you're coming at the right time because you're young. You're still young. I want to ask you a couple questions about wrapping things up there. We it sounds like it's just going to be bliss for you here, and God willing, it will be. And we're going to want to follow you through the next couple of weeks from your travel. But what's it been like to wrap things up there? Do you have a lift? Are you bringing your own furniture? Did you sell your house? Did you, was that difficult? Was that a step-by-step?
So, no problem here. So obviously, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching out for my family. And, as far as selling the home, there's one home on our street that is a rental home. And I was just every Shabbos, I'm walking outside, taking walks with the dog. And one of my neighbors said, "So when are you moving?" And I said, "Oh, we're moving soon. We're moving in June." She goes, "When are you putting the house up?" I said, "The day after Purim." She said, "Don't." And literally, mamash, after Shabbos, I got a phone call the next day. She and her husband made a bid on the house, which they asked, "How much are you asking?" We told them that's it. The house is sold. We did nothing. God. It was unbelievable. They're letting us rent back at the cost of what our taxes would be. The lift is coming right like mamash the day after Shavuot. Mind you, we have 2 days. This is my last 2-day yantif of the extra days. I don't want to go there. I'm so excited. Right. And
that's right.
Everything has fallen into place. But I must say, I am extraordinarily organized.
Okay, we have 3 minutes. I want to get in about the dog. Tell me how you bring a dog.
Oh, by the grace of God. So this little old dog, first she had to get she had to get a special chip that's an international chip. So I went to our veterinarian, and he took care of that for us. Okay. She had to get every year in Israel, they have to get their rabies shot. So instead of every 2 years, here,
okay.
And a special titer test. So we did that.
Okay, I know, but how to bring her? How are you actually bringing her? In a crate? Is she going to sit with you? Is she going to sit with the luggage?
She's sitting with us. We have like a little carrier. She's 14 pounds, and she's going to be by our feet. And I guess it's an evening flight, so she'll sleep most of the day, which she doesn't. Most of the time she does anyways.
How about her ears?
I don't think she'll have a problem. She's just going to sleep. They give them, we'll give her like a little medication. I'm sure the doctor will give us something.
Good idea. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
She also has a stroller, so we don't even have to carry her.
You have a stroller? You have a stroller for your dog?
I do, like a baby stroller. It's for a little doggy.
Oh, it's like a little dog. Okay. It doesn't sound like it's going to be hard at all.
I don't think so.
That is funny. Okay, great. Well, you sound amazing.
Nefesh B'Nefesh walks you through everything. And I'm a nervous anxiety person about the dog. And Rivka Spitz is like, don't worry, Nechama, I've got your back. I'm like, okay. I get the paperwork. I send it to her. She gives me a heads up. Everything is fine.
Okay.
So,
today we have to let you go. I want to thank you for being on the show, and I'm going to be calling you again probably in the next couple of weeks. Okay.
Absolutely. As it gets closer, I've got a countdown.
Excellent, Nechama. Thank you.
Down in 35 days.
Yeah, Femo. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Kol tov. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The Tamar Yona Show.
Tamar? She's sassy.
She's smart.
She's funny.
But she's also a real Jewish mother.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tamar Yona. And yes, I can be all of those things. But at Israel News Talk Radio, I'm here to bring you the news stories and guests that you may not hear anywhere else. Join me live on air Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays for the most unique and bold talk radio in Israel.
The Tamar Yona Show.
Shalom, I'm Leah Aharoni. Join me on my show, News from the Torah. Each Sunday, we'll use the weekly Torah portion as a prism for understanding the news today. Listen to News from the Torah to gain clarity about the times we're living in and to understand your own spiritual path in the process. News from the Torah every Sunday on Israel News Talk Radio.
Welcome back to Returning Home. I'm your host, Natalie Sapinski. Joining us now is a completely different story. A young woman who made aliyah at the age of 17 back in 2010 as a lone soldier. She is from St. Louis originally. She came here alone with extended family here and there throughout Israel. She stayed, and today she is 28 years old. She is married a fellow lone soldier, and she is a software developer, lives in Tel Aviv. Gal, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Wonderful. So I'd love to hear your story. You are I got to say, you're one of the smart ones who comes early. I was just speaking with our guest, and she's, coming, and she's retired, and she's been wanting to come. And here you are, and you did it. And I'm very proud of you. And, a lot of people are looking to you. A woman coming as a lone soldier, it's very courageous. Why don't you tell us how that decision came about and how that journey has been?
Thank you. Well, I was born in Israel. My parents are both native Israelis. At around age 2, my parents relocated to the States. And I grew up in the United States. We moved around a lot, but I always knew that my heart was in Israel. And after I finished high school, I wanted to try life as an adult in Israel. And that was the beginning of an adventure.
Mm-hmm. Your parents, they're Israeli, and they're still there?
Yes, my parents and my brother. Actually, my younger sister just made aliyah this year.
Yes, I see that in my notes. That's great. There are so many Israelis that do leave, and I don't think they intend to stay away for long. It's very sad, I think.
It's funny you say that. Actually, my parents left for a 2-year relocation. Now it's just about 26 years after.
Oh,
Fortunately, they started talking about coming back. So
yeah, and you're here. How did they react when you told them your decision to come?
I think it was expected. They were very happy for me.
Okay,
but it's challenging. It isn't easy being apart.
Okay. But you did it. You did it, and you were apparently very focused because you came as a soldier. You didn't come as like a student or on vacation. What was it like being a soldier here, a lone soldier here alone?
My experience in the IDF was amazing. The program was very supportive. I don't know. I mean, I came to Israel and did about 6 months of community service. And after that, I enlisted. I served in the Golan Heights for 2 years, which was an experience in itself. such an amazing area in Israel.
What did you do there? Can you tell us a little bit about your service specifically?
Yeah, I was an operations sergeant, which means that I was in the war room and handled the training of the soldiers in the Golan Heights.
You were with a group. I guess you were, giving orders. You weren't out in the field holding a gun, walking up and down the border.
No, I wasn't. I was helping from the war room, from base. Obviously, I could go out into the field to see and watch, but no, I wasn't a fighting soldier.
Okay, you're an intelligent soldier. That's great. What was your Hebrew like when you came? Did you always have it?
So because my parents are both Israeli, we spoke Hebrew at home.
Oh, thank God.
I was very
huge
fortunate
advantage.
To have
very fortunate. Let's not underplay that. That's tremendous. That's tremendous and a very big advantage to enter society. All right. So tell me about your love life, how that came about. I'm sure these stories do happen in the Army. I mean, we see, you're a bunch of young people together. But I'd love to hear it.
Okay. So my husband and I lived with my grandma for the first year in my service. After a year, I moved closer to base, and I lived in a kibbutz near Afula. I met my husband there. We were good friends for many years, and then we decided to take it one step forward. And now we're married.
Very nice. So when you lived on the kibbutz as a soldier, why don't you tell us a little bit about that? I haven't heard anyone talk like this for a long time. It used to be very popular. Tell us about that, because that is nice.
The purpose of me moving was in order to meet more people and have a better social life while I was home on weekends. And it definitely happened. There was a group of soldiers my age, and we were each other's family.
Right.
And the kibbutz life is amazing. If I could go back, I would probably do it.
Yeah. Now, when you say kibbutz life, you're saying kibbutz life as a soldier. You don't mean kibbutz life as a kibbutznik.
No, I wasn't considered a kibbutznik.
That's right. And your life was not a kibbutznik. And for all of you listening, let's explain a little bit. When a kibbutz is a community where everyone works and lives there, and your meals are there, it's really like communism, okay? The good of it and also the bad of it. Now, these lone soldiers, and you can jump in here anytime, Gal, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they rent rooms and live on the kibbutz, so they have a community. It's almost like a little village, right?
Exactly. The military pays the kibbutz, and it's almost like renting a room. And there's services like laundry and...
Right. And food, and there's a little store. Yeah. And did you have a family? Did they assign you parents?
They actually, that kibbutz specifically didn't, but I know my sister now does have a family.
Right. So that's very nice. It's very helpful. And I'll explain, and you jump in, and you can explain why you need that, okay? Because my son's a soldier now, and I see. And even before he was a soldier, I understood, because we had lone soldiers. We actually have soldiers that serve in my yeshuv come to us for Friday night dinner. They're not lone. But being a soldier, it's like you are busy, morning through night, and you are too tired to do laundry and to shop and to cook and to barely take a shower. You have no freedom, right?
You're very busy when on base. I was on base for just about stretches of 2 weeks, maybe 3. So when you come home on weekends, you just need your own space and you have some support.
Yeah. And that support does not mean doing your laundry and making your food.
Right, not necessarily. Having friends.
Yeah, you're tired. You want to have
community.
Look, we've had soldiers come to our table Friday night, and they're just you can tell they miss being with a family. They engage, with my younger children. They play chess with my younger son, and ask them all kinds of questions. And they just want to be with a family. They just want to feel like with their own brother. It's sad. You see it. You just see it.
Exactly. And you can't replace your parents or your family, but it's good to know that somebody's there with you.
Okay, so that's great. So what has happened since? You came here to be a lone soldier, and you actually stayed on, and now your life is here, and you've settled here, and that's a beautiful thing. I hope people listening who are thinking about being a lone soldier, and think, oh, I'll just do 3 years, think to stay. Tell me how you think your life has blossomed here.
I think being in the situation of being a lone soldier has made me very independent. I'm good at being alone, and I'm also good at being social and with people. I fell in love with Israel, and I just kept on going from there. I studied in college here, and after that I traveled in India, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Nepal.
Oh, nice. Very popular.
Yeah.
Very popular. Right. You did with a few friends, right?
I started off with a group of friends from college, and then I continued traveling independently.
Mm-hmm. And when did you get married?
So, we got married during COVID.
Okay, recent.
Even a year ago. Yeah.
Ah, very nice.
Recently.
Okay, your COVID wedding. Beautiful.
We're a COVID wedding.
Right.
Small and good to be small.
Yeah, totally. There's a lot of good that happened with the corona, and that's one of them for sure.
Yep.
And I see you're a software developer. You're living in Tel Aviv. You're living the life. Am I right?
Living the life, yeah. I'd be happy to get back to the kibbutz, but Tel Aviv is also good.
Yeah. You'll get tired of it once you grow a family, I think. Your sister, tell me how exciting that must be.
It's so exciting. It's so nice to have my family back, or at least my sister. She is 19, and she came to do a program called Mechina. And after that, she's going to enlist as well.
Okay, so she is, she must be 18 or something like that, 19.
She started in 18, now she's 19.
Wonderful. Well, good luck to her, and I would love to have her on the show.
I think she would love to as well.
But we'll talk about that afterwards. And, thank you for joining us here and telling us your story. There are a lot of people who come and leave. I say this all the time, and maybe it's sounding like, oh, come on, Natalie, everyone you talk to stays. But really, a lot of people do leave. There aren't a lot that stay. There aren't a lot of Americans here. And the more that come on my show, like you, Gal, and share your story and tell them how you did it, I think other people will say, well, if she can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah,
so thank you so much.
It's not easy, but I support it.
Yofi. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And, all the best. Best of luck to you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
In a time where feelings have become fact, where rational thought and common sense has disappeared, one man stands above it all.
I'm Howie Sobiker, your political hitman.
Political Hitman airs every Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. North American time, 7 a.m. Israeli time, only on Israel News Talk Radio.
Are you interested in transforming your life, drawing closer to the Creator, and uncovering the deeper meanings and hidden treasures in the Hebrew Bible?
Then join me, Rav Yitzhak Michelson,
and me, William Hall,
on the Science of Kabbalah, where we are seeking to narrow the gap between what we understand of our physical and spiritual worlds. So make sure to tune in every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Israel time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on Israel News Talk Radio.
Welcome back to Returning Home. I'm your host, Natalie Sapinski. That was very interesting. I love hearing from the lone soldiers. They come in all shapes and sizes. Girls, boys, ex-Israelis, Americans. It's awesome. It's awesome. We have with us today the brains behind Partners in Aliyah, the social network, David Brenner. David, you with us? You here?
I am here. Good to be back.
Good. Thank you for joining us. There's been I think there's been a lull of Aliyah lately, but what do you see happening?
I don't know if it's a lull. It could be time of year too. Most people come in the summer. Certainly we don't. I don't know if we have the excitement and the fervor that we had, back March and April, May, June, when people were first trying to figure out what is this corona thing and how should we react to it. But I don't think there's still a lot of chat and there's a lot of lull. I don't think there's a lull. I'm not really sure.
Okay. You see what I see. You see the chatter. I heard recently that people aren't leaving America because of corona. They're leaving America because of the political situation.
That could be. Listen, I think there are people who are frustrated, and I'm sure because they actually want to make Aliyah, and because of corona and because of the paperwork and because of the regulations, because of the conditions, they are having trouble getting here. I think that's happening. I think also there's the other thing, which is human nature, which is, people were talking in April, May, June, I'm coming. And then, reality sets in and, it's not so bad. And, we were all, you remember, we were all happy here in the summer because we had gone through here in Israel a round of lockdowns. And then last summer there was very little corona in Israel. And we were sitting here saying, hey, everyone should come. We don't have corona. And then all of a sudden it seemed like we got a lot more corona. And then maybe people were like, hey, it's bad there, it's bad here. And now, again, we don't have corona. So I guess we'll see. But I think people still want to come. And then I think that it's clear from what we see that things in America are not getting better, right? I don't think they're getting worse. I don't think they're getting better, right? I don't think politically, right. Certainly it's not gotten better. And I think on other fronts, it's not gotten better either. So I'm hoping people are going to come, and I'm hoping people are going to come and that they're not waiting for bad news to come, which is usually what people do, right? People usually are waiting for bad news. We don't like bad news, but there's enough of it out there, Natalie, that hopefully more people will, kind of get the clue and get over here.
It's not like they wait for bad news. It's just like they don't come until they have no other choice. And that, like we've seen this in the past, we've seen this in history, and history does repeat itself. And I hate saying this over and over again. I really do. But like, what is wrong? These people, there are a lot of people much, much smarter than me. All right. Like they have read tons of books. They pray 1,000,000 times. They know these prayers and where they're praying to. You know what I'm saying? Plus, they know history. I really don't understand it. And
yeah, but they don't know the same thing. You can be super smart, but you may be only as good as the information that you're getting. And I kind of say that to say that over here, the types of Torah that we get are about the land. It's about Israel. It's about the connection to Israel. It's about how when we look inside a Parsha or inside the Navi or inside the davening and we see when it talks about Eretz Israel, that to us here, that's a very real, contemporary, modern, right here, right now thing. But I believe, from my recollection, and it's been, Baruch Hashem, now almost 7 years, but when I was regularly in the Galut, and when I go back, I got the feeling that when they talk about Eretz Yisrael and they'll quote a pasuk from the Torah about Eretz Yisrael, they're always talking about what it was for when we were in the desert, when we were coming in Israel, when we were with Moshe Rabbeinu. That to them is Eretz Yisrael. But to us here, when we see it, we can connect it to what's going on right here and right now. You see what I'm saying? So you can be super smart. You can be super smart, but you're only as good as what you're being fed. I think the tide is turning. I just the other day I was talking to somebody who said, that a rabbi, I think, from their shul was coming and they had to replace him. You don't hear you don't hear about that often, but that's happening, and he's not the only one. There have been several, congregational rabbis who have come lately, and I'm also hearing about other. You know what? People seem to have a low. They don't want to talk about it, but I know a few what I would call high-profile people, well-known people from America who are making plans to come, and they're coming. So,
okay.
Yeah. But do you think that the disaster that just happened on Lag BaOmer is something where Jews who are not here are going to say, "Oh, I don't want to come," or are they going to say, "Oh, maybe that's why I do want to come"?
Oh, interesting. Use that, huh? I don't think they're going to say that's why I'm not going to come. That's not a reason not to come. That's like saying, something that happens at Hershey Park and the Ferris wheel falls over. It's not a reason not to go to America.
But they may be looking for excuses. I could say from our perspective, though, not that we're looking for that, but I mean, listen, you've been here longer than me and you've lived through. But even in those 7 years I've lived through, we came right after the horrible thing that happened to the 3 boys. But then after that, we had, when I was living over in Alon Shavut, not far from here, we had, some terrorist attacks. A guy who used to daven right in front of me in shul got murdered, and, things are happening. And when those things happen, as well as what just happened, we feel what happens here. We feel very connected to it, and we feel how the country is trying to come together. And I think a lot of us feel like we're, that these things are happening. Are our ability to come together as a country and as a Jewish people, spurred on by these events, is what's really making the change. And what I would say is, God willing, more people from America and England and South Africa and Australia and all these places are going to come here so that you can also be a part of it. Not that it's something that you look forward to, you want to be a part of when we have adversity, but at least you can get in the game. And you can see what it's like and you can understand what it's like to really be a part of this thing that we're building here.
Right, up close. Yeah. Not in the bleachers. I agree. Yeah.
So the good stuff and the bad stuff. We have young
the good stuff and the bad stuff.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
The good and the bad. There's always going to be it's so extreme here, it's highs and lows. It's the highest highs.
Yeah.
And it's the most horrible, painful lows. I mean, one blow after another. I can't get over it. I can't get any momentum, this pit in my stomach. I can't stand it. And it's very hard for me. And I think, these other Israelis who've been here their entire lives must build up a very, very thick skin, because I don't know how else to move. My son is in Kitzur Vav. He's in 6th grade, I think. He's like 11. There's a school trip this week. And the girls had a trip on Sunday, and it was canceled because it was the National Day of Mourning. I didn't hear one complaint. I didn't hear a word.
No one's complaining here. And it was where I was watching my Rav Shlomo Katz. I had the privilege of davening by him. And he was, a lot of people saw that he was on CNN. And right after it happened, and he had been in a car on the way there. He was very close to it. He knew people who were in there and this, that, and the other. And the reporter was really badgering him because this was just, hours after, and the reporter was going after him saying, who's to blame for this? Who's to blame for this? And she kept on asking, and he kept on saying, that's not where we are, Right now, we're just trying to come together. We're trying to come together. We're trying to help these people. We're mourning. We're in this. We're not thinking about that kind of stuff. Yeah, something happened. Everyone's trying to do the best, and something happened, and those questions will get answered later, but that's not where we are now. And that made me realize what's going on. You know, it's just that everyone wants somebody to blame, but I didn't hear that much here. Did you? I didn't hear people saying, who's to blame for this? Who's going to whatever?
Not yet. Not then. They wait till that's not the beautiful thing about Israel is they have sensitivity. You know, you finish those 7 days and you mourn those 7 days, and that's understood.
And then we'll figure out. We'll figure out what's going on.
Oh yeah.
But not right away. This isn't. So you'll see. This is not a blame first thing. This is come together and try to. And it's been awful here, right? It's been It's been terrible here.
Yeah.
The funerals and the shiva houses and everything that's going on. It's just been. Everyone knows. You know, there's not many degrees.
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone knows someone pretty close who was affected. You know, because of the. And it's such a strange thing because just like an accident that happened, it's not I don't know. Do you think it's easier to process these things when it's, a terrorist as opposed to something like this?
It's all bad. It's all bad. I mean, I see the picture of this boy who died in the hospital for Tepuach. I'm like sick, you know. My son's the same age. My kids all hitchhike. I can't stand it. I can't. It's all bad.
We have this, exactly. We had this kid who got shot.
We don't get a break here.
No. And then I juxtapose it against even the poor, our Oleh Hadash who traveled to Baltimore and they got murdered there.
Oh, man.
You know, it seems like we're just getting it. No matter where it is, we're getting it, you know?
We're getting it. We're out of time, David. Thank you so much for joining me.
So good to be with you. Be well.
I hope, we have better days coming ahead of us.
Amen. Thank you so much. Be well.
Thanks, David. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Where can you get the inside news on Israel? At Israel News Talk Radio, we're dedicated to sharing Israel's inside story with the world by providing our listeners with news on Israeli politics, current affairs, and Israeli Jewish culture. The Israel News Talk Radio homepage also provides you, the listener, with useful information at your fingertips, with scrolling news headlines, weather, currency exchange, Shabbat candlelighting times, and so much more. Our radio programming is always accessible and on demand. We operate absolutely free of charge for everyone, everywhere. If you love what we do, partner with us now by becoming an Israel News Talk Radio supporter. With your support, you'll be inscribed on our Israel News Talk Radio Wall of Fame. There's nothing like us in the world. Be part of something great. Israel News Talk Radio. Straight talk from Israel.
Howdy, this is Rita from League City, Texas, now living in Israel. And though my heart may have belonged to Texas, it now belongs to Israel and all the fantastic show hosts at Israel News Talk Radio.
Hi, this is Michael Solomon from Kiryat Arba, Israel. And why do I love listening to Israel News Talk Radio? Because I love listening to the interesting interviews they do and their news reporting that most other media sources don't cover.
Hey, this is Nicoleko from Malmö, Sweden. It gets pretty cold here in Sweden, so I love cuddling up with a warm cup of tea while I listen to Israel News Talk Radio.
Hey everybody, this is Frank Morris from Tennessee. Me and my dog Buster really love listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
News, opinion, and more. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.